Radio in motion program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, ready, here we go.
Radio in motion.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me tonight on Radio in Motion's Easy Breezy 70s. We've got some great tunes coming up tonight, trying to take it back to a time that seemed a little bit more chill and a little bit more human connection rather than all of us glued to our phone. But first off, we're going to have another episode of The Ugly Truth. And the ugly truth is, I don't know what happened to free speech. This is sort of my second follow-up episode. I just recently did one a couple weeks ago, just talking about the idea of free speech, not just as the phrase, but what it really means. And sometimes it's not easy because free speech really means essentially protecting the speech that you also hate. And for some people, I think that drives them crazy. They can't handle that. It's not just about protecting the speech that you consider correct. That's that's a fine line, because once you go down that road, once you say, we need a board of people to get together and decide what's acceptable and what's not. You enter into the Orwellian 1984. You enter into a world of those who decide what is right and what's wrong. And I had a friend recently who commented on, they didn't like what someone was saying, and they sort of wanted to cancel them, the whole cancel culture thing. And I said, the problem is one day you might be on the wrong side of that. They can't imagine it, but what if you end up on the wrong side of it and someone says what you're saying isn't right, and they want to come and shut you up? So, I'm just starting off with that I'm going to be diving into a bit of that. But also, if anyone is at all keeping up with any current events, or if you're not, that's fine. You can learn a little bit tonight. And like I say, don't listen to me. You go and research for yourself. Find out your own facts. Don't believe me. Don't believe the news. Don't believe any anchor on the news on mainstream media who sits there in a lovely suit and a tie telling you all about the world. Not a drop of it is true. Maybe the weather. Maybe the traffic. That's about it. The rest is garbage. Garbage because especially mainstream media is advertising is their Achilles heel. It is difficult to speak the truth when an advertisement is coming up for big tech or big pharma or some big corporation that says, yeah, we'd rather you didn't mention that. Here's the money to keep you on the air, and we'd rather you didn't mention that. Sorry, folks, that's not journalism. That's just a dude in a chair reading the teleprompter. So again, research for yourself. Critical thinking. Imagine that. Imagine thinking for yourself. If you research for yourself, you're a conspiracy theory nut. It used to be called critical thinking and being smart. So that's what I'm just telling you to kick it off with. And what I'm leading up to is a huge event in the U.S. That a prominent, outspoken individual who wasn't even really political, but I think everyone assumes he was going to head into that realm. But that's neither here nor there. This was just someone who spoke their mind and always respectfully would allow the other person to join him in open discourse, was never violent, never shut anyone down, just was always willing to have a conversation. And that's Charlie Kirk. And again, for some, just saying that name triggers them into an emotional rage. And that's the other thing these days. I feel like emotion is overtaking logic, and the ability to respectfully have a conversation with each other. I'm not saying there's anything against emotion. It's something that is pivotal to the human experience and part of what makes us us, and an important, unique part of what makes everyone unique. But when you allow it to overtake you and your feelings drive you towards something, especially something like violence, and I'm sorry, I believe cancel culture is tantamount to bullying. I don't think it's funny anymore. It's not. When you want to remove someone's voice, and you'll go as far as to do what you can, as far as, the taking away their platform, that's just one. Maybe you go a bit further and you start threatening them. Maybe you go a bit further and, you start threatening their family. And I'm going to be honest, it leads to worse things when you let your emotions, trump your logic and your ability to respect another human. Words are not violence. I'm sorry, and everyone has a different opinion, and of course you can. But words are not violence. Violence is violence. And if you can't govern your emotions enough to hear an opposing view without resorting to rage and threats or something worse, then the problem isn't the opinion. The problem is with you and your inability to govern your emotions. So Charlie Kirk was someone who was very much in that form. And look, I'm only going to talk about him at the start because it is a catalyst for this conversation. But I didn't know the man. I'm not going to talk like I knew him. If you want to find out about him, definitely, look up clips on YouTube. Plenty of people who actually did know him, they'll be discussing him and sort of what he stood for. But really, he was someone who would go around on college campuses and anywhere in whatever forum. And, it's funny, even and a lot of it was college kids, even the people who turn out to oppose him, you could see it when you watch the videos. Most of them weren't angry. They even would smile a bit. They wanted to get into this discourse, this open discourse and discussion. And I think that was brilliant. Even someone with completely opposing views, they'd be very interested to go and maybe try and tit for tat, knock them down. I think people forget this was a huge thing. I remember in school, the debate club. Maybe it was a huge nerdy thing, but I think it was fantastic. The debate club, the whole point was they would choose a topic and the two sides would have to debate. And I don't recall any of them taking out a club and beating each other or shooting each other. You know what I'm saying? They used their words. And look, they would get points. One would win, one would lose. And this wasn't about winning or losing. But a lot of them really enjoyed that. And like I say, they were able to have that conversation, agree to disagree, and still walk away friends. Or maybe not friends, but acquaintances who didn't want to murder each other. So, again, if you don't know, I don't know how it is you couldn't know, but Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while at a campus having one of these talks. And he also opened up campuses across the U.S. and all around the world. A lot of it for young people and youth, called Turning Point. And again, anybody who's very small-minded and locked in to one narrative, and they don't have the ability to open their mind and let their brain, come to the front rather than their emotions, they'll immediately say, "Oh, that place it's a huge conservative camp to just turn people into conservative monsters." This is not about left or right. This is about a father, a husband who was killed and left behind his children and his wife and a huge legacy of followers who were interested in what he had to say. And even people who opposed him, still interested in what he had to say. And look, so that event has definitely become a lightning rod. Whether you loved him or hate him, it's not about him. It is, and I have to say it will be, because what they actually did at this point was create a martyr. And I'll be honest, that is something that can spread like wildfire more than anything else. And his wife has been very outspoken that she is going to, take on his legacy. And again, I hope it's for the positive and the good. I hope it's not to become more divisive, because I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how we can come together more. And no, we're not going to agree. That's not possible. Okay? There's too many people, too many opinions, too many religions, too many thoughts in the world for us to agree at this point. Look, I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, and if you've ever watched Star Trek, in that world, it's all about, in the future, we were finally able to put aside petty differences and wars, and we were able to come together and use our knowledge and ability to work together, all nations, and we became this global world. And yeah, to get super nerdy, it became the Federation. And the whole point is I don't think we're there yet. We're not going to be there for a long time. But the part that I always liked about it is when we were able to put away our tribal mentality and our petty differences, we were able to leap forward. And in this case, it was about technology, but it could be anything. It could be medicine, solving the world's hunger problems, everything. And in this case, it was also about creating the ability to travel across the stars like we could never imagine, far beyond anything Elon Musk could come up with. And that's what Star Trek is about. We couldn't get there without getting past our egos and ourselves. Again, I've always liked that. I'm just not sure it would be that simple. So again, this isn't about political. This isn't about left or right. People are so obsessed with that, and that's the thing. That's what really would be our undoing. Is I don't believe there's a left and right. And call me whatever, a conspiracy theory nut. This is only based on facts, and if you can't see it, I urge you to go find the facts to see this. I do believe this is about us and them. Who is them? There is only one them. It is the people who are in power. And they're not even the millionaires. A millionaire is nothing. I am talking about, the George Soros, the Klaus Schwabs, the Bill Gates. Even Bill Gates is not that much in the Billionaire Boys Club. There are people you'll never even know about. They are the ones that want everything, and they want your piece of it, and they want the finite resources that are left in this world, and they want to make sure they have it. So yes, I do believe it is that. And all of us, I don't care, you think it's you against your neighbor, it's not. You're all in the same boat. It is, the powerful against those who have no power. It's the powerful versus the people. While you're fighting each other online and in the streets and in the comment sections, they're buying up the world. Again, you can look these facts up yourself and you put the pieces together. Follow the money. That's one of the most honest phrases there is. Follow the money. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Look these up yourself. These are just a handful of the entities who own everything. They don't want you to own your own home. They don't want you to build equity for your family. They don't want you to build a legacy. They don't even want your neighborhood to come together. They're buying up homes, media, farmland, even water rights. Meanwhile, the average American or Australian, can't afford a home, can't build wealth, can't grow their own food. God forbid. Oh my God, if you grow especially in the U.S., you grow your own food, the FBI will come and shut you down. If you have some chickens in the yard and some eggs and you feed it to your neighbor, the FDA will come and shut you down. How could you possibly feed your neighbor? Who are you to grow food? Only the government can grow food. How could you grow an onion? It's too complicated. It must be grown by the government. That is ridiculous. They're taking away humanity. Especially in the U.S., they've gone from a nation of builders and owners to renters of everything. And again, think about this. It's you will own nothing and be happy. That's a real saying. That is not mine. That's a published goal by globalists. And rent your car, rent your house, make sure you're on your phone, get the latest phone. You got to get the latest phone, no matter how much it costs. Make sure you're online. Make sure you go to Starbucks. You're getting fed this. And look, I will point this out. I've mentioned this phrase before. This is nothing new. people are amazing in that we have such an ability to be so intelligent, but we also have a great ability. Sometimes it's on purpose. Sometimes it's on purpose about forgetting pain, but we also have an amazing ability to forget. This goes far back to empires who have risen and fallen. This goes back to Roman times. And this saying is, give the people bread and circuses, and they'll want for nothing. It's exactly what you think it means. Distract them. As long as they're fed, as long as they get something to do, you got your phone, you got somewhere to go, you got Taylor Swift, you got entertainment, you've got a million streaming channels, and you go, oh, come on, Sonny, what? You grew up with movies and TV? Yes, I did. I'm not saying I didn't grow up in that world. I grew up in the pop culture media world, consume, but I tell you what, it's about 500% worse. It is all about consuming, and it is all about owning nothing. They want you, indebted to them, okay? And also, I'll go one step further, and this one's not a popular view. I'm not saying there aren't people out there who are impassioned, and they're using all of their skills to help fellow humans. Yes, and I'm so glad they're out there. There are. But, whether it's big pharma or even smaller corporations, I have to point this one out. A healthy person is worth nothing. I'm sorry, but it's true. And this goes to a lot of the food in the U.S., and, you wonder why everyone's so obese. I'm just saying, if you can find a way to cheat a bit and to cut some corners, and you've fed everyone, and you've turned $1, but you've fed them at the cost of their health, doesn't also hurt if maybe, the healthcare system's making some money off you. I'm sorry, a sick person is worth a lot. A sick person, even a person just sick enough on the edge for years, dead's no good. But chronically sick, chronically ill, that's worth some dough. I'm just saying, isn't that sad? So yeah, like I say, it's all about keeping you distracted. This is nothing new. We have TikTok and Netflix and phones, fast food, endless credit. We're entertained, we're indebted, and we're too exhausted to resist. Don't have the energy at the end of the day from your 9 to 5 and posting all your photos of your food. You don't have any energy left. Even cars. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to get real nerdy with some of this stuff. Of course, yes, it's not like Ford didn't want to, make a buck. Of course they did. But there still was this mentality of making a good product, selling it. And of course, yes, they would want you to bring it in, and, you would need tires. I'm not saying it's not about capitalism, but it wasn't as evil as it is now. A car could easily last you 20 years, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? A car could last you that long because you know why? You could work on it. I know that for some young people, they'll laugh. They say, "Oh, you old people, you worked on your cars." Yeah, I bought it. It's my car. I'll change the oil. I'll change the plugs. I can figure it out. Even the smartest person, it's not about not being smart enough. Even some mechanics, that's their job. They look at a modern engine, they go, I don't know what the hell is in here. It doesn't even have to be a hybrid or electric. I get it. That's a bespoke kind of technology. But even a normal car, it's got just so much crap in it and computer parts. A car literally could be a thing that you could maintain. Hell, you could pass it on to your kids. Even that's not something they want you to own and pass on. They just want you to rent your car forever. They want you to keep leasing the next new thing forever. And it's just another way to be indebted. While we're on the subject of capitalism, I do believe in capitalism. I do believe about competition. Without competition, there is no fairness. This is capitalism versus corporatism. Okay, corporatism is a different thing. Capitalism. Anyone from anywhere with any idea. And that's the other thing that's so beautiful about I think, America. It is a land of immigrants. I don't know, that's another touchy subject. There are things there that's happening now that I think a lot of people just assume. But when I talk about the legacy of America, and even right now, if you have legally come to the country, with an idea in your head, you can make it and you can be a superstar. That's a fact. That's real as it was now, as it ever was. And that's capitalism. You can build something great and then you can pass it down to your family, no matter what country you're from. But what we have now, it's not free market capitalism. It's corporatism. It's a few giants, a few giant corporations gobble up the competition. Okay, they control the market, the media, and the message. It's no longer a fair game, and that's another problem. A lot about mainstream media. You think there's a lot of news channels in Australia. There's not as many, but in the U.S. there's quite a few, different options for news channels. But when you look down to it and you look them all up, unfortunately, so many of them are owned by a smaller amount of corporations. You know what I'm saying? If you've got 50 media outlets, well, now it's about competition. So maybe one might even accidentally tell the truth just to get the edge. One might go, well, we better get the scoop and let's put this out there. All right, we won the ratings for the night. But if there's like only 5, okay, then it's like those 5 have a meeting. Hey, I want to make some money. How about you? I sure do. Well, let's make a plan. Let's make sure we all work together to keep that money coming. Guess what, folks? Another nail in the coffin of journalism. Okay, that's not free market capitalism. And also, I'm sorry, yes, I have to have a go at the politicians, the death of representation. And this is Australia, the UK, the US. This is anywhere where you think your voice is heard. It's not. And especially in America, there's supposed to be checks and balances. The legislative branch, executive, and judicial. But if every branch is owned by someone, there's no checks and balances, okay? If everyone's in the pocket of someone and getting paid off, and again, as I say, don't listen to me. If you're really interested, you look it up. Look at it yourself. Look at a lot of, the politicians and senators who get into office. Honestly, when you look them up, they're really nuff-nuffs. And you're like, how did they become multimillionaires? I'm being real. I don't care what it says. Oh, they started a few businesses. No, they really suck at everything, even business. What they do have is they're in the pocket of people. And dare I say, when they say insider trading is illegal, every single one of them do insider trading. Someone gets a tip. Hey, here's a hot tip. They all make their money off the stock market. They all become millionaires. How in God's name do you think they can honestly represent you anymore when they're getting paid off? Politicians don't represent us anymore. They perform for us. It's a show. It's a show. It's all distraction. Even Trump. Everyone goes, there was a time I was talking about Trump. He seemed like a bit of an outsider, might be interesting. You know what? He's the same. It's all the same thing. He's now part of the swamp because for all his promises, he hasn't followed through in the ways that matter most. So unfortunately, I think he's part of it. So it doesn't matter where it's left or right. It's all the same. It's the uniparty. Red tie, blue tie, they serve the same monster. They really do. Big money, big corporation, big money. And look, that is a bit sad. And how do we get America back? And again, I'm an American who's in Australia. I love Australia. I try to understand the systems here, but I still don't quite understand them as much as I do in America. I think it's a huge mess here too. I think when the same party is in power, you'll never get the other voice. Although here, I do think it's similar to the uniparty. You're just going to get a similar version of someone, on the left or right. It's going to be the same. But dare I say, you should try to change it up a bit. But how do you get back how it used to be? How do you get America back? I still think it starts locally, and I've said this before. Again, the government's not going to save you. They just want you to be a clog in the machine. They just want you to be a slave. They just want you renting your life every day until you die. They want to keep you just sick enough to get what they need from you. So start locally. Start with you. Start with your family, your friends, your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. That's a beautiful thing. Support local businesses. Again, maybe one day that local business gets bigger and they turn into a corporate monster. Well, cross that bridge when you get there. I still say support local businesses. Get involved in your town, your school, your city council. And also, we need to stop seeing each other as enemies, because we're not. I look out the window, I don't see everyone fighting in the street. But like CNN and Fox will have you believe everyone's at each other's throats. Look, folks, it doesn't matter which one you watch. Again, they're two sides of the same coin. They're there to sell the advertising. That's up next after the news, unfortunately. So, get involved. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much you have in common, I think. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's all bullshit. It's all such a show. I tell you, sometimes, I've talked about, I think we're living in the Matrix. I think we are in some ways, in that, we don't have to be in virtual reality plugged in to a machine with, AI robots using our energy as a power source while we're asleep in the Matrix. I mean, hey, we might be there, but that's a bit extreme. I think it's more that, we have succumbed to the circus, and we believe it's all such a big mess, and we get mad. We get mad online. The sad thing, especially about that, like I said, we've lost the ability to see each other as human. It's easy to talk crap to someone on social media because you feel like, there's nothing's going to happen to you. What are the consequences of that? And that's not realistic. You go tell someone to their face, man or woman, I don't care, woman to woman, man to man, whatever, human to human. Go tell them to their face, again, respectfully. And hopefully they'll also respectfully tell you to F off, respectfully. And then maybe from there, you can decide to have a conversation. The point is it's easy to just put up a message, put it on X, put it on Facebook. There's no repercussions. That's why we're in the Matrix, I think, in that way. It's not real. It is not realistic. But yeah, I think you'll be surprised how much everyone has in common. For God's sake, I don't care. Your religion, your ethnicity, your sexual preference, these are all wonderful, unique parts of you. But I suppose I get annoyed when people say that one thing defines you. Again, I won't go too much down that road, but it's more than the one thing. And I feel sorry for you if you think it's that one part that defines you. It's not. It's not that one part of you. Everyone is unique, no matter how you identify. You can identify as a tree. That's beautiful. There's more parts to you. Maybe you like pottery. Maybe you're a race car driver. You know what I mean? Maybe you like ice cream. Maybe you hate broccoli. There are a million things that go into one person. That's not the one thing. Not where you're from. Not who you like to have sex with. These are parts of it. And when you look at someone as an individual and all their crazy, exciting, mixed up parts, you'll find one thing in common. Oh, that's right. They're human. Welcome to the human race. That's my favorite thing of all. We're all in this together, folks. If the ship's going down, if we're polishing the brass on the Titanic, guess what? We're all there. We're all going down. Let's hope it's not that tragic, but we've all got more in common than you think. And look, I mentioned this before, just a note on another thing that made America great, immigration. America is a nation of immigrants. It always has been. So many immigrants, you talk to them now, they love America. Sometimes more than native-born citizens of America. I mean, an actual immigrant who came there legally. It's a whole other story when you're talking about, that's a whole other podcast. There are people who are brought in by cartels and it's terrible and it's a horrible thing and they're drug mules, or there's people who aren't even from, everyone just thinks they're all from Mexico. There are people from all around the world, from every country, and they're just funneling through the U.S. And the thing is I'll be honest, a lot of them aren't there because they want to join the American dream. I'm talking about the ones who are. and maybe they have fled war and oppression and poverty, and you talk to those ones and they say, yes, I love America. They raise the American flag. They want to be part of the country that says to you, you can be anything if you work hard and have an idea, no matter where you're from. And again, if anyone contradicts me, I'm not quite sure if you've seen any whatever Hollywood or news or sports or business people in America in the past 50 years. Frankly, guess what? They're people of all races, from all countries, from all genders, who are stars in Hollywood and stars in sports and prominent doctors and businessmen and people. Those are people who have come from everywhere, and they've gone to America, and they have risen with hard work in their own two hands, and they are now creating a legacy for their children. If you don't believe that, if you think everyone in America is racist, again, you've got to stop watching mainstream media. America is a wonderful, beautiful melting pot, and that's what its strength is, and it's still the same today. It's just gotten more complicated by those who want to make it complicated to distract you so that you hate your neighbor, and it disgusts me. So yeah, I started this talking about Charlie Kirk. This isn't about Charlie Kirk, although again, it is very sad when someone who is simply using their voice and wanting to have respectful, peaceful conversations with others, not necessarily to convince them. Maybe in some ways he was, maybe sometimes he did, and sometimes he didn't, but it was about talking. And again, leaving, maybe have learned something, maybe not. I hope everyone learned something, and peacefully walking away to speak another day. And it's sad that we live in a world where you have to be worried now that you can't do that. And that makes me sad. But yeah, this is about the human soul, the American spirit. It's about everyone, remembering that, we're not enemies. We're all neighbors, brothers and sisters. We can talk, we can disagree, and we can still shake hands when it's done. And that's what I think we've lost. So that's all I wanted to say. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to Charlie Kirk's wife and children, because again, no matter what differences you thought, oppositions, whatever you thought about the man, like I said, he was a human being, a husband and a father, and no human deserves to be murdered. Pretty simple there. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Sure, maybe it's a religious saying, but in some ways, those sayings usually transcend all religions. It's not a Catholic one. It's not a Jewish one. It's not a Muslim one. Usually if you take the right words, the common sense words, they are about treating each other with respect, and certainly not trying to do the ultimate cancel culture, which is murder and violence, again, because someone had an opinion. And I hope that kind of thing doesn't continue. I hope we can find our way back to seeing each other as human. Anyway, that's my thoughts tonight. As always, take it away. Use critical thinking. Find your own facts. Find your own voice. And get out there and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I'll chat to you next time. All right, but we've got more great songs coming up tonight on our Easy Breezy 70s on Radio Motion. You're listening to 99.3 FM. We'll be right back after a word from our awesome sponsors that we love that keep this station going. All right, we'll be right back.